So what was the last topic? We are discussing about the nutrition, vitamins topic now. Okay. B5 completed. B6. We have to start B6. Okay. Right. So we are discussing about the water soluble vitamins. In that, the vitamin B6. Vitamin B6. Its chemical name is pyridoxine. Pyridoxine. Its chemical name is pyridoxine. It acts as coenzyme in protein metabolism. It acts as coenzyme in protein metabolism. It acts as coenzyme in protein metabolism. It is required for antibody production. It is required for antibody production. This is important. That means it provides immunity. It provides immunity. It is a coenzyme in protein metabolism. It is required for antibody production. Antibody production. Then deficiency. Deficiency causes hypochromic microcytic anemia. Microcytic anemia. Hypochromic means the hemoglobin content decreases. Microcytic, that means the size of the RBC reduces. And it leads to anemia. That means RBC count decreases. So hypochromic microcytic anemia. Just you remember these parts. Vitamin B6, its chemical name is pyridoxine, and it acts as coenzyme in protein metabolism. Then it is required for antibody production. What are antibodies? Antibodies are the protective proteins, okay, which fight against the antigens. And the deficiency causes hypochromic microcytic anemia. Deficiency causes hypochromic microcytic anemia. Right, this is vitamin B6. Next, vitamin B7. Vitamin B7. It is also called as biotin vitamin. It is also called as biotin. So it is a sulfur containing vitamin. This is important. It contains sulfur element. It contains sulfur element. Sulfur element. It acts as coenzyme for carboxylase enzyme. It acts as coenzyme for carboxylase enzyme. So what is carboxylase enzyme? So this carboxylase enzyme is required for transportation of carbon dioxide. It is required for the transportation of carbon dioxide. Vitamin B7, it is called biotin. It is a sulfur containing vitamin. It acts as coenzyme for carboxylase enzyme. The carboxylase enzyme, it is required for transportation of carbon dioxide. Okay. So this biotin vitamin is required for carbon dioxide transportation, and it also reduces cholesterol. It reduces cholesterol in the body. That means it involves in the fat metabolism. It reduces cholesterol. Then deficiency. Deficiency causes fatigue, muscle fatigue, that is tiredness, muscle fatigue. You remember these points. So vitamin B7, chemically it is called biotin. It is a sulfur containing vitamin, and it is also called as a vitamin H. You remember this one also, vitamin H. This is also called as vitamin H. It acts as coenzyme for carboxylase enzyme, required for transportation of carbon dioxide, and also it reduces cholesterol levels in the body. And deficiency causes muscle fatigue, okay, right. Next, vitamin B9. Next, vitamin B9. Its chemical name is folic acid. Folic acid. It is also called as folacin or folate. Folic acid, folacin or folate. It is iron containing vitamin. Iron containing vitamin. It is essential during pregnancy. Essential during pregnancy. So it is required for RBC and WBC formation. It is required for RBC and WBC formation. Vitamin B9, folacin, folic acid or folate. It is an iron containing vitamin. It is essential during pregnancy and is required for the formation of RBC and WBCs. Formation of RBC and WBC. Right? The deficiency causes macrocytic anemia. Macrocytic, or it is also called as megaloblastic. Macrocytic or megaloblastic anemia. Deficiency causes macrocytic or megaloblastic anemia. That means the size of the RBC increases. It leads to anemia, decrease in RBC count. They call macrocytic or megaloblastic anemia. Suppose if the vitamin B9 is deficient during pregnancy, the children may born with some mental retardations, and these children are called as spina bifids. Spina bifids. That means particularly the children born with some spinal cord abnormalities, okay, or mental retardation. These children are called spina bifids. If the vitamin is deficient during pregnancy, the children may born with some mental retardations or spinal cord abnormalities, and those children are called spina bifids. Spina bifids. So this is vitamin B9. Vitamin B9, chemical name folic acid, folacin or folate. It is an iron containing vitamin. It is very essential during pregnancy because it is required for the formation of RBC and WBCs. Deficiency causes macrocytic anemia or megaloblastic anemia. That means the RBC size increases, it leads to anemia. And if the vitamin B9 is deficient during pregnancy, the children may born with some mental retardations or spinal cord abnormalities. Those are called spina bifids. Spina bifids. Got it? Right. Next one is vitamin B12. Vitamin B12. Its chemical name is cyanocobalamin. Chemical name is cyanocobalamin. It is cobalt containing vitamin. It contains cobalt element. Cobalt containing vitamin. It is commonly known as anti-pernicious anemia vitamin. It is called anti-pernicious anemia vitamin. Vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin, cobalt containing vitamin, commonly known as anti-pernicious anemia vitamin. It protects our body from pernicious anemia. Pernicious anemia. That means it protects our body from destruction of RBC. Then it is required for maturation of RBC, It is required for maturation of RBC and is required for DNA synthesis. DNA synthesis. Functions are maturation of RBC and DNA synthesis. DNA synthesis. So then deficiency causes pernicious anemia. Pernicious anemia. Here in pernicious anemia, the lifespan of RBC decreases. So the RBC will not mature properly, the lifespan of RBC decreases. So it affects the metabolism because it is required for DNA synthesis. Because the DNA is playing very important role in the metabolism. So if the DNA synthesis is not occurred properly, so the entire metabolism will be disturbed. Okay. So finally leads to death. That is called as pernicious anemia. Pernicious anemia. You remember this one? Vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin, cobalt containing vitamin, anti-pernicious anemia vitamin. So it is required for maturation of RBC and DNA synthesis, and deficiency causes pernicious anemia. Pernicious anemia. So these are the various types of water soluble vitamins. That is a B complex vitamin. So vitamin B1, thiamine, B2, riboflavin, B3, niacin, B5, pantothenic acid, B6, pyridoxine, B7, biotin, B9, folic acid, B12, cyanocobalamin. You have to remember the chemical names. So there is any common name that you have to remember. Okay. And mainly you have to remember its functions and deficiencies. These are important. Okay. Right. And next one is vitamin C. So vitamin C. Vitamin C. Its chemical name is ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid, commonly known as anti-scurvy vitamin. Vitamin C, chemical name is ascorbic acid, common name anti-scurvy vitamin. Anti-scurvy vitamin. Sources. The main sources are citrus fruits. Citrus fruits like lemon, orange, amla, and also tomatoes, etc., etc. These are the major sources of vitamin C. It is called anti-scurvy vitamin. Its functions. It acts as immune booster. It acts as immune booster. That means it provides immunity. It acts as immune booster. It is required for wound healing. Wound healing. Required for wound healing. It acts as immune booster. Required for wound healing. Okay, strengthening of bones. Strengthening of bones. Then deficiency. Deficiency causes a disease called scurvy. 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 What are the symptoms of the scurvy? Bleeding gums. Bleeding gums. Loosened teeth. Loosened teeth. Weakness, or you can say fatigue. Weakness. So these are the major symptoms of scurvy. So vitamin C, chemical name ascorbic acid, common name anti-scurvy vitamin. The common major sources are citrus fruits like lemon, orange, amla, and also tomatoes. So then functions, it acts as immune booster. It provides immunity. It involves in the wound healing process. It is required for strengthening of bones, formation of cartilage. Deficiency causes scurvy. Scurvy. So scurvy means bleeding gums, loosened teeth, weakness, fatigue. All these are the major symptoms of scurvy. right? These are the water soluble vitamins. Water soluble vitamins. So the water soluble vitamins includes B complex vitamins and vitamin C. Vitamin C. Okay, right. Next, let us see the minerals. This is also important. Minerals. Minerals. So actually, these minerals are the inorganic elements. The minerals are the inorganic elements. They constitute nearly 4% of the body weight. 4% of total body weight. They constitute nearly 4% of the total body weight. So these inorganic elements, they act as cofactors. They act as cofactors. Cofactors means they are required for functioning of enzymes. They are required for functioning of enzymes, and they also involves in the construction of the body organs. They won't provide any energy. So they won't provide any energy. They are required for functioning of enzymes, and they also involves in the construction of the body organs. It means they act as a cofactors. So minerals are the inorganic elements which constitutes nearly 4% of the total body weight. They act as cofactors. That means they involves in the functioning of the enzymes. Already told you about the enzymes. Enzymes are the biocatalyst, which enhances the biological reactions. Okay, right. Let us see some important minerals required by our body. So some important minerals. So these includes carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. So these are called structural elements. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, they are called structural elements. They are called structural elements. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, they are called structural elements because they involves in the construction of the macromolecules like carbohydrates, proteins, fats and nucleic acid. That's why they are called as structural elements. Okay, all right. And next, nitrogen. Nitrogen. So it is a component of amino acids. It is a component of amino acids, proteins, component of amino acids, proteins, nucleic acids, that is DNA and RNA. Nitrogen is a component of amino acids, proteins, nucleic acids, that is DNA and RNA. It is also essential for the growth of the plants. It is also essential for growth of the plants. Okay. In atmosphere, nearly 78% of nitrogen is present. In atmosphere, nearly 78% nitrogen is present in a molecular form, that is in the gaseous form. Though 78% nitrogen is present in the atmosphere, the plants cannot utilize this nitrogen. Okay. The plants absorb this nitrogen in the form of nitrites and nitrates. So, from plants again it will be circulated to the animals. In nitrogen cycle, the atmospheric nitrogen enters into the plants through nitrogen fixation process. So, from plants again it enters into animals. Is it clear? So, then finally it involves in the formation of amino acids, proteins and nucleic acids. You remember this one. So, this nitrogen is essential for the construction of amino acids, proteins and nucleic acids. Okay, right. Next, phosphorus. Next, another element, phosphorus. So, phosphorus. It is required for strengthening of bones and teeth. It is required for strengthening of bones and teeth. It is required for strengthening of bones and teeth. In bones and teeth, the phosphorus is present in the form of calcium phosphate. Calcium phosphate. Phosphorus. Phosphorus is a component of DNA and RNA, that is nucleic acids. Phosphorus is a component of DNA and RNA, and phosphorus is a component of ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate. You remember this one. So phosphorus, it is also very important mineral or element. It is required for strengthening of bones and teeth. In bones and teeth, for the phosphorus is available in the form of calcium phosphate. It is a component of DNA and RNA, that is nucleic acids. And it is also a component of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Next, another example, sodium. Na. Sodium Na. It is required for nerve impulse transmission. Nerve impulse transmission means nerve functioning. It is also required for muscle contraction. Muscle contraction. It was given in the previous exam, previous UPSC prelims exam. Which of the following elements are required for muscle contraction? He has given the options: sodium, calcium, okay, and iron. So the answer is sodium and calcium, both involves in the muscle contraction process. Right, sodium. Okay, calcium also. Which one? Bones. So that's why the calcium directly involves. But sodium, it is useful for nerve impulse transmission. That means it carries the signals. It carries the signals for muscle contraction. But calcium directly involves in the muscle contraction process. Okay, right. So sodium, it is required for nerve impulse transmission. It also involves in the muscle contraction process. Okay, right. So in the form of sodium and potassium pumps, it transmits the nerve impulses. It transmits the stimulus or information. Is it clear? Right. Next, potassium. Next, another one is potassium. Same, potassium is also required for muscle contraction. Potassium. Remember this one. Potassium. It is also required for nerve impulse transmission. It also involves in the muscle contraction. Potassium also required for nerve impulse transmission and muscle contraction. Next, calcium. Ca. It is required for strengthening of bones and teeth. Strengthening of bones and teeth. It is required for muscle contraction. And also required for blood clotting, blood coagulation. In bones and teeth, the calcium is present in the form of calcium carbonate. It is present in the form of calcium carbonate and calcium phosphate. The calcium is present in the form of calcium carbonate and calcium phosphate. Calcium, it is required for strengthening of bones and teeth, required for muscle contraction, and is for blood coagulation. Next, magnesium. It is useful for functioning of enzymes, required for functioning of enzymes It is useful for protein synthesis. Protein synthesis. Magnesium is required for protein synthesis and also useful for formation of chlorophyll. It is a component of chlorophyll. Actually, this chlorophyll is a green colored pigment present in plants. Chlorophyll is a green colored pigment present in plants. Magnesium, it is required for functioning of enzymes, involves in protein synthesis and is also component of chlorophyll. Right? Next, sulfur. Sulfur. It is a component of biotin vitamin. It is a component of biotin vitamin. Biotin vitamin. So, biotin vitamin means vitamin B7. B7. It is a component of cysteine and methionine amino acids. Cysteine and methionine amino acids. Sulfur, it is a component of biotin vitamin. Biotin vitamin means vitamin B7. It is a component of cysteine and methionine amino acid. These points you have to remember. Right? Next, iron. Next, iron. Iron. It is also very essential. It is a component of hemoglobin, cytochromes, and ferridoxins. Cytochromes and ferridoxins. It is a component of hemoglobin, cytochromes, and ferridoxins. So, deficiency causes anemia. Deficiency causes anemia. Anemia, decrease in RBC count. Deficiency causes anemia. Decrease in RBC count. Next, zinc. Zinc. It is required for growth and development. Required for growth and development. So, particularly it is required for the development of gonads. Gonads means reproductive organs. It is required for development of gonads. Gonads means reproductive organs. Deficiency causes hypogonadism. Hypogonadism. Deficiency causes hypogonadism. It leads to impotency or sterility. So, zinc, it is required for growth and development. Particularly, it is required for development of gonads. Deficiency causes hypogonadism. Right? Next, iodine. Iodine. It is required for growth and functioning of thyroid gland. It is required for growth and functioning of thyroid gland. So, deficiency causes simple goiter. Simple goiter means enlargement of thyroid gland. So simple goiter means enlargement of thyroid gland. So what is thyroid gland? So this thyroid gland is present on either side of the neck region like this. Okay, thyroid gland is present on either side of the neck region. This thyroid gland requires iodine element. If iodine is deficient, so generally we will take this iodine in the form of salt, in the form of seafoods. Okay, so that means very little amount of iodine is required. When it is deficient, the thyroid gland enlarges in size. That enlargement of the thyroid gland is called as a simple goiter. So this simple goiter may lead to hypo or hyperthyroidism. Okay, so like that. So simply remember, iodine is required for growth and functioning of the thyroid gland. Okay, next, manganese. Edi atlanta em ledu. Not in females. Atlanta em ledu. So males also suffers with thyroid because the people who are living in hilly regions, the people who are living in sub-Himalayan regions, they are most prevalent to this thyroidism. Okay, so not specific to the females. Males also get this goiter. Males also get this thyroidism. Okay, right. So next, manganese. It is required for urine formation. Manganese is required for urine formation. It is required for development of the skeletal system. Manganese is required for urine formation and is required for the development of skeletal system. Right. So these are some important minerals required by our body. Okay. Right. Next, so let us start the biotechnology part. Biotechnology. No, I'll let you know this later. Last to this. Biotechnology. So what is biotechnology? So before going to this biotechnology, you have to know something about the cell, basic structure of the cell, okay, components of the cell, and also we have to differentiate gene, genome, chromosome and DNA structure, composition. Then only you can better understand this biotechnology part. Okay. So first, what is biotechnology? Here we have two terminologies, bio and technology. So bio represents life. Bio represents life, or you can say living beings. So technology means application. So the application of living beings is called as technology, biotechnology. The application of living beings, that means the branch of science which deals with it is an applied branch of science in which various types of living organisms. It is an applied branch of science in which various types of living organisms like plants, animals and various types of microorganisms. They have been utilized by using various types of techniques, or you can say technologies, to produce valuable products. So the biotechnology is an applied branch of science in which various types of living organisms are used to produce valuable products by using sophisticated techniques or technologies or equipments That is called as a biotechnology. So biotechnology is an applied branch of science in which different kinds of living organisms have been utilized. Actually, the biotechnology has been classified into two types. That is traditional biotechnology and modern biotechnology. So this biotechnology has been classified into two types. One is traditional biotechnology and modern biotechnology. So the traditional biotechnology is called as old biotechnology and the modern biotechnology is called as a new biotechnology. So what is traditional biotechnology? So traditional biotechnology means the biotechnology which is based on the natural capabilities of the organisms. It is the biotechnology based on the natural capabilities of living organisms. That means the biotechnology which is based on the characteristic features of the living organism, that is called as traditional biotechnology. And what about modern biotechnology? It is based on the DNA structure. The biotechnology which is based on the DNA structure, DNA composition and rDNA technology. That is recombinant DNA technology. So here the traditional biotechnology, in this traditional biotechnology, will use various types of traditional techniques like selective breeding, hybridization process, and fermentation. So these are all based on the natural capabilities, characteristic features of the living organism. For example, if you consider the Ayurvedic medicine, so in this Ayurvedic medicine, we are using various types of herbs. From these herbs, we are extracting the material, we are extracting the substances by using traditional methods. And here also, suppose fermentation process, if you consider the fermentation process, in this fermentation, we are using various types of microorganisms. Okay, those for example, if you consider antibiotics, the antibiotics are produced by using different kinds of bacteria. Okay, so these bacteria releases some chemicals which kills the other organisms. Okay, so those can be used as antibiotics. Is it clear? So that means the traditional biotechnology is based on the natural capabilities of the living organism, whereas the modern biotechnology or new biotechnology is based on the DNA structure, composition and rDNA technology, new advanced technique called recombinant DNA technology. That recombinant DNA technology is also called as a genetic engineering process. So in this genetic engineering process or in the rDNA technology, we can able to manipulate the DNA, we can able to manipulate the genetic material of an organism. Okay, so that means the desired characters can be introduced into organism or undesired unwanted characters can be removed from the organism. Is it clear? Right, this is called as a modern biotechnology. First, briefly you remember this one. Before going to the in-depth of the biotechnology part, we have to understand some basic concepts, that means basic structure of the cell. Okay, right. Oh, right, let us see the cell. So what is cell? So the cell is the basic structural and functional unit of any living organism. Basic structural and functional unit of life. Cell is the basic structural and functional unit of living organisms. Why it is called basic structural unit and functional unit? Structural unit because all organisms are made up of cell only. Cell is the basic structure. And functional unit, that means the functionality, the metabolism of the organism depends on the functionality of the cell. Is it clear? So suppose if you consider the organization of an organism, suppose say this is a cell. say this is a cell. This is the basic unit. So here similar type of cells, the similar type of cells together forms a group. That group we called as a tissue. And same type of tissues forms an organ. It forms an organ. For example, liver is there. Liver is an organ. Okay. Lungs are the organs. Heart, okay, heart is an organ. So like that. That means cell is a basic structure. Similar type of cells form tissue, and similar type of tissues forms an organ, and all these organs together forms organ system. And all these organ systems forms an organism. Right? So here the cell is the basic structural unit. Okay. So all organisms are made up of cells only. And basic functional unit, because the functionality of an organ depends on the functionality of the cell. Okay. If some cells are damaged, it disturbs the functionality of the organ. Okay. It hinders the metabolism of that organ. That's why the cell is considered as the functional unit. Okay. Right. And the study of this cell is called as the cell biology. Or you can say cytology. Study of structural organization of the cell is called as cell biology or cytology. For the first time, a scientist called Robert Hooke discovered the dead cells. Robert Hooke discovered the dead cells in the bark of oak tree. Robert Hooke discovered the dead cells in bark of oak tree. He is honored as father of cytology. Or you can say father of cell biology. Whereas another scientist called Anton von Leeuwenhoek discovered the living cells. He discovered the living cells like bacteria, protozoans, and RBC, red blood cells. Okay. So you remember, Robert Hooke is honored as father of cytology because he discovered the dead cells. And Anton von Leeuwenhoek, he observed the living cells like bacteria, protozoans, and RBC with the help of microscope. So he is honored as father of microscopy. Right. So let us see types of cells. The cells are broadly divided into two types. So based on the structural organization, they are eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cell. The cells are broadly classified into two types. They are eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cell. You remember this one. So eukaryotic cell, example, plant, animal cells, including human cells. Eukaryotic cells, examples are plant and animal cells. Prokaryotic cell, example, bacterial cell, and also cyanobacteria, blue-green algae. Right? So eukaryotic cell. Let us take some important points related to this eukaryotic cell. Here, nuclear membranes are present. Nuclear membranes are present. So these nuclear membranes are absent here. So the nucleus is well organized. Nucleus is well organized and the nucleus is primitive. Nucleus is primitive. Nucleus is primitive. Then the cell organelles, nucleus, mitochondria, chloroplast, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, these are all present here and these are all absent. The cell organelles like nucleus, mitochondria, chloroplast, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, all these structures are present, but these are all absent here, right? These are all absent here. And then here in eukaryotic cell, ATS type of ribosomes are present. ATS ribosomes are present, and here 70S ribosomes are present. 70S ribosomes are present. And here the cell is complex. And the cell is simple. Say for example, if you observe the structure here like this, say this is eukaryotic cell. Okay, eukaryotic cell. This is a cytoplasm. Inside the cell, there is a nucleus. Inside the cell, there is a nucleus. And then endoplasmic reticulum, a membranous reticulum extending throughout the cell. So this is endoplasmic reticulum. And then mitochondria, like this, mitochondria, and then chloroplast. So this chloroplast is present in plant cells. The chloroplast, and then Golgi complex. So the Golgi complex. So this is Golgi complex. This is endoplasmic reticulum. And so this is nucleus. And this is mitochondria. And chloroplast. All these structures are present here. And here and there, 70S ribosomes are present. On this endoplasmic reticulum, the rounded 80S type of ribosomes are present. 80S ribosomes are present. But if you observe the prokaryotic cell, say this is a bacterial cell, okay. So simply cytoplasm is present and the nucleus is present, that is chromosomes. Sorry, you can say nucleoid. nucleide is present, and this is a cytoplasm, this is plasma membrane, and a tough cell wall is present here. The tough cell wall is present here. This is a structure of a prokaryotic cell. So, you have to understand the difference between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. This is important. Already once the question was given on this topic. Okay, difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. Just I'll revise this one. So, types of cells based on the structural organization, the cells have been classified into two types: eukaryotic, prokaryotic. So eukaryotic means true, carry on means nucleus. Okay, here pro means primitive, carry on means nucleus. Okay, here the eukaryotic cell is true nucleus. Examples are plant cells and animal cells, including human cells. Here the prokaryotic cell example is bacterial cell. The nuclear membranes are present, so nucleus is well organized. Cell organized nucleus, mitochondria, chloroplast, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex. You remember these terminologies. Okay, I'll explain it one by one. Then all these structures are absent here, right? So here, if you observe the structure, this is plasma membrane. So this is a plasma membrane. Plasma membrane means thin membrane surrounding the cell. And inside the cell there is a matrix that is called as cytoplasm. And inside the cell there are structures. These are all called cell organelles. So this center one is called as nucleus, and this is a highly coiled thread-like structure that is called endoplasmic reticulum, and then tubular structure that is called as a Golgi complex. And next this is mitochondria. Remember the terminologies, and chloroplast. All these structures are present, so the cell looks very complex. But here, all these structures are absent. The nuclear membrane, first thing, nuclear membrane is absent. So the nucleus is naked. It is not well organized. It is compartmentalized. It is well organized. Here the nucleus is, the nuclear membranes are absent. So it is very primitive. Okay, right. And the other structures like mitochondria, chloroplast, endoplasm, all these structures are absent here. Very simple, and it looks very complex. And here ribosomes, you remember this terminology, ribosomes. Here 80S type of ribosomes are present. That 80 and 70 represents its weight, molecular weight. S is a unit, Svedberg unit. You remember 80S ribosome, 70S ribosome. This is the basic difference between the eukaryotic cell and the prokaryotic cell. Up to here clear now? Right. Then let us see the difference between the plant cell and animal cell. Let us see the difference between the plant cell and animal cell. Difference between the plant cell and animal cell. In plant cell, the cell wall is present, whereas animal cell wall is absent. In plant cell, there is a structure called chloroplast is present. But animal cell, chloroplast is absent. In plant cells, vacuoles are present. Here animal cell, vacuoles are absent. And in plant cell, there is a structure called centriole. Centriole is absent, but it is present in animal cell. This is the basic difference between a plant cell and animal cell. So, plant cell wall is present, whereas in animal cell wall is absent. So, in plant cell, there is a structure called chloroplast. Chloroplast is present, whereas in animal cells, chloroplast is absent. In plant cell, vacuoles are present, whereas in animal cell, vacuoles are absent. There is a structure called centriole is absent in plant cell, it is present in animals. Is it clear? Right. So, let us see the basic structure of eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cell. So this eukaryotic cell contains mainly cell wall and protoplasm. This protoplasm is again divided into plasma membrane and cytoplasm. In the cytoplasm, various cell organelles are present. Okay. So these cell organelles includes, write down one by one, nucleus, mitochondria, chloroplast, then endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, ribosomes, lysosomes, then vacuoles and centrioles. Okay. Already drawn this eukaryotic cell. You remember this one briefly. So this is plasma membrane. Okay, inside the cell there is a nucleus. This is nucleus, and from this nucleus a membranous reticulum extending throughout the cell. This is called as a endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, and here the tubular structures are present, and these tubular structures we called as Golgi complex. Another structure, mitochondria. And here chloroplast. Briefly you remember this one. Okay. So this is a eukaryotic cell. So briefly you have to remember these cell organelles and their importance. That's enough. So here cell wall. What about cell wall? The cell wall is present only in plants. It is absent in animals. The cell wall gives rigidity, shape to the structure, shape to the cell. And what is protoplasm? That means the thin membrane surrounding the cell and the fluid matrix present inside the cell, that we call as protoplasm. And this plasma membrane is semi-permeable membrane. It allows only to certain liquids and ionic substances, not to the solid particles. Just to remember, plasma membrane is a thin membrane. It is made up of proteolipids. The plasma membrane, it is a thin membrane surrounding the cell. It is made up of proteolipids. Next, cytoplasm. The fluid present inside the cell, that is called as a cytoplasm. Right? First, I will complete these cell organelles, then I will proceed to the nucleus. Okay. So, mitochondria, chloroplast, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, ribosomes, lysosomes, vacuoles, and centriole. Let us see mitochondria first. mitochondria. So if you observe the structure of this mitochondria, so actually it is a double membrane cell organelle. This is for your understanding only. Okay, mainly you have to remember the function of this mitochondria. So the inner membrane is folded inwards, or these foldings are called as a cristae. Just to remember this terminology, cristae. And inside the mitochondria, there is a fluid matrix. Inside the mitochondria, there is a fluid matrix. In the mitochondria, a small circular DNA is present. This is mitochondrial genome. Okay. So, a small circular DNA is present, circular DNA. It also contains 70S ribosomes. 70S ribosomes are present. So, that means the mitochondria, it is made up of two membranes, outer and inner membranes. Okay. So, inside the mitochondria, there is a fluid matrix. The fluid matrix, in the fluid matrix, there is a circular DNA. Circular DNA, a small amount of DNA is present, and 70S type of ribosomes are present. 70S. 80S is present in eukaryotic. This is cell organelle, not eukaryotic cell. This is a cell organelle. Okay, inside the eukaryotic cell, there is a cell organelle structure, that is mitochondria. So, this mitochondria, chloroplast and prokaryotes, that is bacterial cell, they contain 70S ribosomes. 80S ribosomes are present in eukaryotic cell. Okay, you understand the difference. Is it clear? Right. Here, in the mitochondria, a small amount of circular DNA and 70S ribosomes are present. With the help of this, it can able to prepare its own proteins to some extent. So, that is why the mitochondria is considered as the semi-autonomous cell organelle. You remember this terminology. Semi-autonomous cell organelle. So, the mitochondria is considered as semi-autonomous cell organelle. Semi-autonomous cell organelle. And the main function of this mitochondria is oxidation of food materials. Main function of mitochondria is oxidation of food. Oxidation of food. That means cellular respiration. It involves in the cellular respiration process. Cellular respiration. So, it generates energy. So, that is why the mitochondria is considered as powerhouse of the cell. Powerhouse of the cell. You remember this terminology. This is important. So, simply you remember mitochondria. So, this mitochondria is a double membrane cell organelle. It is made up of two membranes, outer and inner membrane. Inner membrane is folded inwards, and these foldings are called cristae. Okay, right. In the mitochondria, a small amount of DNA is present, circular DNA is present, and 70S ribosomes are present. So, as it contains DNA is the master one. Okay, so it does not depend completely on the nucleus. That actually nucleus is the master cell organelle. Nucleus will control all the activities of the cell, but this mitochondria is not completely depending on the nucleus. With the help of this, it can able to prepare its proteins, its enzymes to some extent. That is why it is called as a semi-autonomous cell organelle. And the main function of this mitochondria is, that is oxidation of food material, that is cellular respiration process. Cellular respiration means energy generation process. So, that is why it is called as powerhouse of the cell. These points you have to remember, right? Next, chloroplast. Another one is chloroplast. Chloroplast. The chloroplast is present only in plants. Chloroplast is present in only in plants. So, this chloroplast is called as kitchen house of the cell. Its main function is photosynthesis. So, main function is photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? So, the plants captures the solar energy. They prepare their own food material by process called photosynthesis. Photo means light, synthesis means production. Okay. The plants prepare their food material by this photosynthesis process. And here, as the chloroplast involves in the photosynthesis process, So it is called kitchen house of the cell. So it is called kitchen house of the cell. Kitchen house of the cell. You remember this one. Kitchen house of the cell. If you observe the structure of this chloroplast, the chloroplast also made up of two membranes. It is also surrounded by two membranes, outer and inner membranes. So inside the chloroplast, there is a fluid called stroma. The fluid present in the chloroplast is called stroma. In the stroma, the green colored tubular structures are arranged one above the other like this. Green colored tubular structures are arranged one above the other, and they are all interconnected like this. These are all interconnected like this. So these are all interconnected. Okay. And this bundle we call as grana. It is called grana. And each tubule in the bundle is called thylakoid. You remember these terminologies. In the thylakoid, there is a green colored pigment called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is present. Green colored pigment called chlorophyll is present. So this is the structure of chloroplast. So chloroplast is present only in plants. It is required for photosynthesis. It involves in the photosynthesis process. It is called kitchen house of the cell. Kitchen house of the cell. So it contains two membranes, outer and inner membrane. Inside the chloroplast, there is a fluid matrix called stroma. In the stroma, the tubular structures are arranged one above the other, and this tubular structure is called as a grana. Each tubule in the grana is called as a thylakoid. Each tube is called as a thylakoid. In the thylakoid, there is a green colored pigment called chlorophyll. With the help of this chlorophyll, the plants can capture the sunlight. Is it clear? Right. And inside the chloroplast, there is a small amount of circular DNA and 70S ribosome. Here also, circular DNA is present and 70S ribosomes are present. So that's why the chloroplast is also called as a semi-autonomous cell organelle. Why it is called semi-autonomous? Because it is not completely depending on the nucleus. So to some extent it can able to prepare its own proteins. So that's why it is called as a semi-autonomous. Got it? And the main function of this chloroplast is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis means preparation of food material. Okay. That's why the chloroplast is called as a kitchen house of the cell. Kitchen house of the cell. These points you have to remember. And next, the photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, the photosynthesis occurs in two steps. In photosynthesis, light reaction and dark reaction occurs. Light reaction and dark reaction occurs. So light reaction takes place in the grana, dark reaction occurs in stroma. Light reaction occurs in grana, dark reaction takes place in the stroma. Light reaction occurs in grana, dark reaction takes place in the stroma. Our right. Next. And next one is endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum, it is called ER. So actually it is a membranous network extending throughout the cell from the nucleus. Suppose say this is nucleus. The nucleus also contains two membranes, outer and inner membrane. From this outer membrane, there is a membranous network like this, which extends throughout the cell. So this is called endoplasmic reticulum. And this endoplasmic reticulum, it is also called as cytoskeleton. Cytoskeleton of the cell. So why it is called cytoskeleton? because it gives support to the cell. It acts like a skeleton. It gives support to the cell. That's why it is called cytoskeleton. And it is useful for intracellular transport. Intracellular transport. Endoplasmic reticulum. It is useful for intracellular transport. There are two types of endoplasmic reticulums. One is rough endoplasmic reticulum. Rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Rough endoplasmic reticulum means ribosomes are present on its surface. It is required for protein synthesis. Rough endoplasmic reticulum. So, if ribosomes are present like this, if ribosomes are present like this on its surface, if ribosomes are present, then it is called rough endoplasmic reticulum. If ribosomes are absent, smooth, it involves in lipid synthesis and storage. Lipid synthesis and storage. It is required for lipid synthesis and storage. Endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Right? So, you remember these two terminologies. It is called as cytoskeleton and it is required for intracellular transport. Next, Golgi complex. Golgi complex. So, these are tubular structures like this: cisternae, tubules and vesicles. Okay. So, it contains three components. These are cisternae, tubules and vesicles. Cisternae, tubules and vesicles. Cisternae, tubules and vesicles. So, this Golgi complex, its main function is secretion. Its main function is secretion. Secretion means it secretes some chemicals which are necessary for protein synthesis. The Golgi complex is also called as lipochondria and dictyosomes. Lipochondria, and these are also called as dictyosomes. Lipochondria and dictyosomes. So, Golgi complex. So, this Golgi complex, these were discovered by a scientist called Camillo Golgi. That's why they are named as Golgi complex. The main function of this Golgi complex is secretion. They contain cisternae, tubules and vesicles. Cisternae, tubules and vesicles. The Golgi complex also called as lipochondria and dictyosomes. Just you remember these terminologies. The parts of the Golgi complex are cisternae, the long tube-like structures, tubules, small tubes, and rounded particles called vesicles. So, this Golgi complex releases some chemicals which involves in the protein synthesis process. The other names of Golgi complex are lipochondria and dictyosomes. Over? Right. So, next, ribosomes. Next, ribosomes. Ribosomes. So, these ribosomes are also called as Pallade particles. Pallade particles. Because these were discovered by a scientist called Pallade. That's why they are called Pallade particles. Ribosomes are also called as protein factories. Ribosomes are called protein factories. Ribosomes are called protein factories because the main function of ribosomes is protein synthesis. So, the main function of ribosomes is protein synthesis. So, they are called protein factories, protein factories. There are two types of ribosomes. One is ATS ribosomes. So, ATS ribosomes, 80 represents its weight, molecular weight. S is Swedberg unit. They are present in eukaryotes. They are present in eukaryotes. Okay. These ATS ribosomes have two subunits. The subunits present in this ATS ribosomes are 40S and 60S. You remember this one. 40S and 60S subunits. And next 70S type of ribosomes. 70S ribosomes. They are present in prokaryotes. Prokaryotes. Mitochondria and chloroplast of eukaryotes. So, ATS type of ribosomes, they have two subunits. ATS ribosomes, they have two subunits, 40S and 60S. 70S type of ribosomes, they have subunits 30S and 50S. Individually, they are 30S and 50S. Okay. Here, ATS ribosomes, they are individually, they are 40S and 60S ribosomes. That you have to remember. So, ribosomes means these are the rounded particles which are meant for protein synthesis. That's why they are called protein factories. They are also called as palladium particles. Two types of ribosomes are present, ATS and 70S. ATS are present in eukaryotes, 70S are present in prokaryotes, mitochondria and chloroplast. ATS ribosomes, they have two subunits, 40S and 60S. And 70S ribosomes, they have two subunits, 30S and 50S. Just you by heart it. Okay, right. That's enough. Next, lysosomes. Lysosomes. They contain many hydrolytic enzymes. Lysosomes, they contain many hydrolytic enzymes. Hydrolytic enzymes means digestive enzymes. Okay. With the help of this hydrolytic enzyme, they involve in the intracellular digestion. Intracellular digestion. They involve in the intracellular digestion. Lysosomes, they contain many hydrolytic enzymes. Hydrolytic enzymes means digestive enzymes. They contain many hydrolytic enzymes or digestive enzymes. As they contain these hydrolytic enzymes or digestive enzymes, they involve in the intracellular digestion. Intracellular digestion within the cell. And these are also called as suicidal bags of the cells. These are called suicidal bags of the cell. They are called suicidal bags of the cell. These are called suicidal bags of the cell. So, why they are called suicidal bags? Because if any cell organelle is damaged, that will be further damaged by these lysosomes with the help of this the hydrolytic enzymes. If any part of the cell organelle is damaged, if any part of the cell is damaged, that will be further damaged by this lysosome with the help of these hydrolytic enzymes. Okay, they involve in the intracellular digestion process. That's why they are called as suicidal bags. Suicidal bags of the cell. Okay, right. These are lysosomes. Next, vacuoles. Vacuoles. So, these are mostly present in plants. These vacuoles are present in, they are present mostly in the plants. Vacuoles are present mostly in the plants. That means these vacuoles are the rounded structures. They are surrounded by a membrane called tonoplast. The membrane surrounding the vacuole is called as a tonoplast. The membrane surrounding the vacuole is called as a tonoplast. So, vacuoles are vacuoles are present only in plants. Mostly the vacuoles are present in plants. Vacuoles are present only in the plants. So, the thin membrane surrounding the vacuole is called as a tonoplast. So, these vacuoles are also called as dustbins of the cell. The vacuoles are also called as dustbins of the cell. The vacuoles are called dustbins of the cell. Right? And centriole. Centriole is present in animals. Then centriole is present in animals. Centriole is present in animals. It is useful for cell division. It involves in cell division process. It involves in cell division. Process. So, these are the various types of cell organelles present in the eukaryotic cell. These are the various types of cell organelles. Okay, right. Let us see the nucleus. Next, nucleus. So, this nucleus is the master cell organelle. It was discovered by a scientist called Robert Brown. Nucleus is the master cell organelle. It was discovered by Robert Brown, and the study of this nucleus is called karyology. And this nucleus, it contains genetic material. In the form of DNA. It contains genetic material in the form of DNA. So, it is hereditary in function. That means it contains genetic material. Genetic material means what? The substance which is required for transmitting the characters to the next generation. So, genetic material means it is the substance which is required to carry the information to the next generation. That is genetic material. So, it is hereditary in function. Hereditary means it is responsible for transmission of the characters to the children's next generation. That is, nucleus is the master cell organelle. The study of nucleus is called karyology. It carries the genetic material, so it is hereditary in function. If you observe the structure of this nucleus contains nuclear membranes, nucleoplasm, the chromatin material, and a round solid mass that is called as nucleolus. If you observe this one, so these are called nuclear membranes. Double membranes, outer and inner membranes. And the fluid matrix is called nucleoplasm. It is called nucleoplasm. And irregularly scattered thread-like structure, it is called as chromatin. And this solid mass that is called as a nucleolus. You remember this one. This is the structure of a nucleus. or mild. Okay, we'll have a small break, then we'll continue.